Hey guys, welcome back. This is Mog with Mogscast. Thanks for joining us today. This is episode 12. This is version 19.1. I've got all updated and everything. My save files seem to be working, which is good. But I have had some trouble since recording these videos. I'm just taking you out here on the runway, just showing off some of the new stuff, like the longer runway. I think it's longer. And then the launch pad, of course, you guys get to see here in a moment when we get going, but I just want to show this to you real quick in case you hadn't seen stuff from the new update and what they actually changed at the Space Center. So we just kind of checking it out, and here I am flying this little, the Ares, and I am not pulling out of that. No way. That was way too steep. I tried pulling out of that dive, but I guess I didn't have enough altitude to actually pull it off, or enough control surfaces to make my plane respond well. But yeah, whatever. But just trying to get out of the screen here. This legged up on me a little bit before we get out to the launch pad here. But as you can see from this shot here, you can actually see it parked out on the runway or on the launch pad. I've actually got the ship we're gonna be flying today out there waiting. But come on, there we go. Back to that Space Center and out to that refueler we're launching up. So this is the ship that I settled on to do the refueling of the space station. So as you can see, it's got a little wings, got some, permanent fixture landing legs, because the other ones that fold out weren't actually long enough. They wouldn't touch the ground. I had to, that's the reason for the wings, is to even get those legs below the engines, because those damn engines are huge. But yeah, what that is that's a cluster, two clusters of 4 nuclear rockets on the bottom of those stacks, and then you'll see the rest of it as it deploys. But this has the heavy converter unit on it, a couple of small little cathane tanks around the edges there, and what that allows me to do is actually just transfer and create all the fuel I need to fully fuel this ship on the surface, and then I fly that back up and dump out the excess fuel to the station, and then go back and land again. So that's how this one works. Originally I had tried building one that would fly up and just bring loads of cathane to the station in orbit, which is, I found to be very much more difficult. But what I'm showing you, well, what I did show you there, at the edge of the cockpit, is the little landing adapter that I need. This is kind of sped up, which is why it's going a little crazy. I sped it up 2 or 4 times. I think just 2 times in editing, so that the video would be a bit shorter for you guys, and it wouldn't take as much for me to upload. And yeah, as you may have noticed, this is not live commentary this time. I'm actually doing the post commentary and checking that whole system out, seeing how it works, getting kind of more familiar with it. But yeah, I don't know if the next episode is going to be the same way, but I might start moving this direction if people like it or whatever. But as you can see, we just launched. We're about to dump our first tanks off the refueler here. And oh, we do have crew with us today. We got Wash and Jane Kobb. So adding those two to the crew, running our refueler ship. They may get switched around, used on other missions, but yeah, welcome to the crew. These are not subscribers. If you don't catch the reference, you really should go watch Firefly or Serenity at least. But anywho, launching up, getting up to about 6,000 feet. Now, maybe you guys are aware or have heard something about this. Lately, when I've been playing in 19.1, I don't know if it's because of a mod that I may need to update or get rid of for the time being, but whenever I get up to like 2,000 and above feet after a launch, my whole game starts lagging pretty bad, like 1 frame a second, or like 1 frame every 2 seconds, sometimes in the worst cases. It's unplayable. But I don't know if it's due to a part, because I have built ships that get up there without issue and up into orbit. But a lot of the ships I build, especially the bigger ones, and by bigger I mean what you're seeing right now, is this kind of bigger, not massive big, just big rockets. But yeah, they would freeze up, lock up, and I couldn't do much. But little ones I got up there no problem. So I'm wondering if it's just a bug with the new system not being very well optimized. I hate using that word in reference to Alpha Beta games because they're doing the best they can, but yeah, it's something where I just can't launch up bigger ships right now until I figure it out. I've actually got one pretty big one up there, and I think I may be starting to narrow down what mods, and I have been switching around that mod list, so I'll keep that updated on the blog post and on the forum post. So you guys just pay attention to those. Links are in the description, of course, as always. And it looks like we are getting up into orbit now. We've got a 40, almost 50 kilometer apoapsis building out there finally. Approaching about 40 kilometers up and starting to bring down that nose to do the finalization of our gravity burn. The circularization, I should say. Apoapsis up at about 70, give or take, and just checking out the cockpit view in this B9 cockpit, whatever the heck it's actually called, but awesome cockpit, awesome mod from the Nova Punch pack? No. The B9 Aerospace pack, not Nova Punch. Duh. I should know that. But yeah, so just pushing out our periapsis while we can and trying to use the Hoffman transfer burn. I think that's what that's called, isn't it? No, that's not right. I don't remember what this is called. I'm just trying to play cool and know what I'm doing. That's incorrect. But yeah, I'm basically just nosing down, so it's not pushing out my apoapsis, it's just pushing out my periapsis and bringing back down my apoapsis. It's an easier way, if you know how to use it, to actually just like circularize your orbit in a single burn. It's very tough, but it totally is doable. But speeding up here as we get out into orbit, so it's going to look a little fast, but as you can see, I'm just setting up my nodes, getting ready for the transfer burn out to the mun. Oh, and here's something. You see those little green and red flashings? Those are part of the aviation lights mod, and it gives you the option to put nav lights and beacon lights on your vessels that function like true aviation lights you would see on planes and stuff. Like green's always indicating a right side, red's always indicating left side of the vessel, so it helps orient different people from different perspectives. For example, I have these same lights on another one of my rigs where a part docks into another part, and it just helps to give me further, I guess, direction or guidance to actually docking because of the lights, so I know how to kind of orient myself before I have to get in super close, especially on the dark sides of the planet when you're not in the sunlight. It's kind of tricky. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing here, and you can see that. But just floating around, doing a little spacewalk. I think this is Jane, maybe it's Wash. But yeah, just floating around, doing a little bit of that, showing off the ship a little bit, a little spacewalk. Now this cockpit is actually pretty tricky to actually get back inside. There's a very specific point. I think I'm about to head back in. Oh, I'm just showing off the little docking adapter. What that piece is on the front there is I dock the big structure piece there to another docking port, and then it gives me a good spot to line up and dock with this cockpit. So it's an offset docking port adapter with quantum struts to hold it in place. So that's how I designed that. That's what I needed to add. I mentioned that in a previous video to the refueler, and that was the part. Otherwise, just getting back in. So you see how you kind of have to be a little off from the door? Like you can't be against it. You have to float back a little ways, and then it'll give you the option to board, which is one of the problems, because it's hard to get a Kerbal up there in some situations, especially if you're on a surface of a planet. But yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and burn it out there, and that should be pretty darn quick. And we're off. So here we go. Just starting our to swing around here to start our burn, and getting in close, and we've already kicked off that other engine, so we're basically just running on our nuclear cluster right now. Now I've got my main engine there too that's not being used, and that's kind of like, it's a lot less efficient, so it's kind of like an emergency engine burn. Like if I'm coming down to the surface, I'll tend to use that, or if I need to kick up the speed on a transfer burn or anything like that. But it looks like we're making this pretty good. Now this is in like 8 times speed on top of the double speed in game, so that's why it's a little jumpy, and my apologies on that. The reason I'm doing this commentary is because basically some of the video or some of the audio during the video initially sort of got screwed up, so I figured I'd give this a shot. So my apologies for bad shoddy camera work. I'll get better at this as I do more of it. It's just gonna be a learning process. Never really done much like this before. But looks like we've got our burn finished, and we corrected some of our mess ups So we're coming in, we just hit that sphere of influence and preparing that maneuver node to swing around and lock into orbit around the Mun. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm not going straight for a station, and we're not docking. The goal of this is to get it on the ground, on the surface of the Mun, on a cathane deposit, so that we can begin the refueling process at that point. I don't want to come to the moon or the Mun, dock at a station, drop off fuel, and then realize that I dropped off too much fuel and crash this thing into the surface. So from start, we're getting to the surface directly, and then going full fuel from there. So as you can see, we're sort of turning around now, starting our burn, and just getting ready for all that. So here it is, locking that in. We're in orbit now officially, just bringing down that apoapsis. And just burning away. We're about halfway through the burn, a little over. And I don't remember, I might actually have to kick, yeah, there it goes, kicking on the main engine just for a little bit there to speed up this lock process. But it's working, we're in orbit, it's not the end of the world if I mess that up, so I'm just going, kind of feathering it with that main engine while keeping those nuclear ones going. I don't know about you guys, I really like the nuclear engines. They're super efficient in comparison. They are like 800 ISP or something like that, comparatively to the 390 pretty much top ISP for most other engines. And that's the efficiency, that's their specific impulse. But yeah, that basically tells you their rate of efficiency as far as fuel consumption to thrusts go, which is kind of nice. Or at least fuel consumption versus time on the throttle. Maybe not necessarily thrust, but yeah, as you can see, we're done with our burn there. We're getting ready to do our descension burn, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Getting ready to land down there. Now, one of the other things I want to share with you guys during this process of getting all set up is that I've got a couple new games that I want to play, possibly for Let's Plays. I know I mentioned Amnesia, and that's still going to be the plan, though I might do a mod run, download a mod of that for that game, and do through like a different story instead of the main one that's been posted to death. But I also just got gifted from a friend and subscriber. We got Bioshock Infinite on Steam, and because of that, he bought it for me during the pre-sale. I also now have XCOM, because a lot of people pre-ordered, so that's pretty awesome. So thanks to you, Jay. I don't know if you want me to say your whole name, so I'll just leave it at that for now. Whatever. I may invite you on later. Who knows? You might actually be one of the commenters one of these days. Commentaries. No, I don't know what the word. Co-broadcaster with me. One of these days we might play some games like me and Shroomo Dead wanted to do. So maybe you guys will hear from him, and I won't have to hide his name. But we shall see. So it looks like I was running low there on electricity. That's why I had my solar panel out, so I could get my electric charge fully up, because apparently neither of my engine set clusters refuel my electricity. And I'm just kind of spinning out there. There we go. Now we're settled. Kind of lost control there. Had to turn on the RCS and get it stable again on retrograde. But coming in now, you can see that's Atlantis down below, the markers there on the surface. We're not landing that close because one thing I've noticed is with the robotics arm pack, which I actually did read when I installed it, it increases the render distance for physics, so you can be further out, and physics will have to run on objects further out so that you can see them. So that's kind of a plus. You'll see them further out, but it can really make systems lag, especially with big clusters of things. So I need to either modify that in the config file or the craft file or whatever the file type is for those that you need to modify. But I need to drop that again because I think it's messing with stuff. And that's one of the reasons I believe in some of those previous episodes you guys saw me switching between nearby craft, and it was like going down to the surface. I believe that's why. It's because it was running physics, so it detected it. It was one of the ones I get switched to. After I thought about it a while, that made sense. So I've got to fix that. But we're landing a little far away so that I don't have to deal with the lag. So and because I kind of overshot because these engines weren't powerful enough, which is one of the reasons why I'm using the main engine right there, is to make sure that I land on a cathane deposit. Because if you're watching the detecting map up there for cathane, you can see it. Like it's ticking up and giving new coordinates. That means I'm above it whenever it ticks. So that's what I was looking for and what I wanted to stop in, is landing in that cathane. just so I can refuel it. That was the whole goal. But yeah, so we're coming down. I've got you on about 4 times speed right now, just to kind of speed up the landing process, and then I drop down to normal speed as we approach. But yeah, we're coming down on just nuclear engines. You can see that even from when we launched out of orbit from Kerbin, I've only used about a little under half a tank of fuel, so I have over half left, which is awesome. I think it's a really good way to move fuel, is this thing, with this thing. But yeah, so just coming down, and we are on fairly level ground, but I do think, yeah, it looks like a little hillside there, so that might complicate things, might slide a little bit with such a heavy ship. Slide being that it's tall, and it kind of keeps that center of balance, center of mass a little higher, so you tend to slide. But I'm coming at it from an angle, so I have my longer width along the hillside, so that should help with stability instead of having shorter footprint if I were to land the other direction, 90 degrees from where I'm doing it right now. So there we go, we're landed this little bounce, but we are on the surface. Now, what I did notice when coming down on this, I remember, is I was looking for my shadow and sort of watching my surface information. When I didn't see my shadow, I realized I had messed with my graphics settings a bit. So those were actually disabled, which kind of threw me off, and I hit a little harder than I would have liked. But, I mean, I've definitely done that even with shadows, so maybe I'm just making excuses. But popping out our solar panels there to start getting some electricity and getting ready to run our drills to start refueling this thing. Let's see. Or no, I'm just deploying my ladders. Maybe I'm just gonna, oh, there the drills go. Yeah, I'm gonna let that run, but I think we're gonna jump out and kind of, after we get this set up, I think we're gonna wait a rotation and get fully fueled with Wash behind the controls there. I think Jane, we might actually be taking out for a little spacewalk, little mun walk. But to test the ladder system mainly, because it's a weird setup, and as you can see, I just kind of flopped out of the cockpit there. That's the one gripe I have with this cockpit, is that it's really hard to get out of. You don't pop out on rails or on a ladder, so you just fall, and I've done that and fallen right into solar panels and busted them off after having a, up to that point, successful mission, which can be a little annoying. But yeah, anyway, I did want to mention before, yeah, Jane's having a little trouble getting off the lander there, off the ship there. Yeah, just jump and grab. That's how you do it, Jane Kobb way. Coming on down, but as you can see, yeah, most of this ladder system works, other than that weird little cluster I had to make at the top. But the other thing I wanted to mention to you guys is, yeah, so as far as the games go, BioShock Infinite got XCOM, that I might play some co-op matches or something. I don't know, whatever you guys want to see, or whatever I end up wanting to do. But I've also got all the Thief series that are out to date on my Steam, so we can play some Thief, get ready for the new Thief coming out, the reboot, just Thief, which honestly I'm kind of looking forward to. I know that they've made some comments that are a little weird, like, oh, we made him to look pretty cool for the current console generation, and while that kind of bugs me the way they worded it, he doesn't look bad. It's whatevs. But Thief, I've got Dishonored, I do want to play Amnesia, got Far Cry 3, Lone Survivor, I Am Alive, Deadlight, Half Minute Hero, FTL, Mark of the Ninja, Metro game, Metro 2033, all the Stalker games, To the Moon. These are all ones that I do want to play at some point, or at least have the possibility of playing. So let me know what you guys want to see. I've got a ton of games on my Steam account, and we'll be giving some of those away as gifts, because I have a bunch of extra stuff too. Little stuff currently, but fun games. If you guys want to win, have some chances to win some prizes, stay tuned and keep up on the blog. And those things will be posted as the information becomes available. But we are done with the video. Jane took a little spacewalk there, exploring on the Mun. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And as always, guys, cheers.